Yeah, I think it's tricky for a coach. I think the coach's job has a lot more than designing a session for Monday practice. Maintaining communication with your players and, okay, we were talking about little Susie. Why is she not getting minutes? I think those are important things for coaches to think about, and how can we help Susie to get those minutes? And maybe she's not getting minutes because I'm stressed as a coach because I need results. But we're talking about 8-year-olds, so it's not about me anymore. Now, as soon as you jump into the coaching world, it's not about you anymore. Now everything has to go back to the players. It's player-centered. So our job turns into creating an environment where the players can grow, where the players can thrive, where the players can let their natural capabilities blossom. And that's hard to do. I mean, I wake up every day like, how can I create an environment for all these players to thrive in?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's tough because every player needs something different. But that's been a big topic of discussion lately for me and a lot of friends that I'm chatting with as well, and in the federation. And so definitely difficult and challenging to be effective. But
thank you. Well, thank you for answering at least my question. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this time now to have the audience ask questions. So Coach Joe, feel free to maybe give it a few seconds to see who wants to ask an individual question, either for their daughter, for their son, for their team. So feel free to scroll in the comments and questions there and pick one, and go from there to go ahead and ask Coach Joe directly.
We could start with this one. I see this is more of a comment, but this one's saying parents need to put in the time so you can see your kids, not just drop them off basically and don't see what's going on. So this person is basically saying that the parents need to stay and watch the practice, which I think can be valid if the parent knows the game and has an idea of what they're looking for in a practice. But even just common interactions with the kids, like how is the coach talking to my kid and when they're 8 years old? Is my kid enjoying it? Is he or she engaged? Are they in lines for 5 minutes and there's been 0 actions? So those types of things are simple things you can look for. But you're right. Yes, it helps if a parent can be there and have some knowledge on what they're looking for and scope it out a little bit before committing to anything, because you don't want to bounce around so much from club to club. However, sometimes now we're talking about distance. Okay, I only have 3 clubs in my area, and then you have to pick the best one. So yeah, that gets a little tricky, but you got to find a way to find the best environment that fits your kid. So you just go back to the fit. Ask your kid when they get in the car, or look at their face. Don't even talk to them. Look at their face. They're going to tell you everything you need to know right there about what that practice was. If they get in buzzing, and they're 8 years old or 6 years old and they're happy and they're excited and they're awesome, let's go back on Wednesday. That's great. Let's try it again. If they get in and they're, give me the iPad, I want to get back on the video games, then maybe it wasn't so engaging, or maybe it wasn't so fun for them. So to take the fun out that early, that's a tricky one. Recipe for disaster. Any other ones we got in here? What do we got? Do you recommend any training equipment? Do you recommend any training equipment for kids to train at home?
Soccer ball.
Yeah, that's where I was going, Walter. That's where I was going. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I never in my life had a private trainer, or I didn't even know I didn't know they existed. I really didn't know they existed until I started coaching. And then until the first person came to me and said, "Hey, will you work with my kid?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Yeah, whatever. That sounds good. But I never even knew they existed. So I played in a pool of players, like Landon Donovan was on our club team, Lyndon Pecorelli, Leonard Griffin. These guys were all phenomenal. Jesse Servin, Jesse from the Valley. Like, these are all phenomenal players. We didn't have equipment. We were playing. We were enjoying. We were competing. Yes, we were out juggling. We used the wall for sure, I'm sure. But we jumped into pickup games. pickup games is something I think we probably should discuss in this conversation. But equipment, like right now, some of the equipment I like for the individual that I've seen come out, I like the hurdles. I think they provide a little something. I like the wall. Somebody came out with a wall that you can play the ball
or something like that.
Yeah, it's like this big. Like those are great products, because what if you don't have a wall, or what if you only have one wall and you want to play the ball in and receive far foot and then play this way? So I like that product. If you have the space and you can get a goal, awesome. But to be honest, you don't need much. You need a ball. So, what does your typical team training session look like? I think it depends on the team, the caliber, the age. But let's just use. I'll use LAFC as an example. When we were with the U12s, anyways, I can speak for the U12s mostly. We played so much. We always we trained 3 times a week. The playing was always in variety as well. So it's not always a 9v9 game at U12 at practice. We always have a 9v9 game in the week. Early in the week is a little less cognitive. So we're going with more competition and lower number. So you might have 3v3 games going on, 4v4 games going on at the end of the training, at least 20 minutes, at least. But I think the younger ages, for me, you can go back to some of these pillars that we talk about now with trying to provide an environment. And there are 3 pillars that I've been in discussion with the Federation, and some of the things that we've learned there that I really like. One is your holistic approach. Like, can you develop a session that touches on all these things and maybe has a focus on something specific, but at the younger ages, it's a little more vague, a little more general. Is it reality-based? So does your session simulate reality in some way, or is it so far removed from the game that we can't even tell that it's supposed to be training for soccer? And is it experiential? So do the players learn by experience? Because the 2 best ways to learn are to teach something or to experience it. So if your practice is the coach stopping it every 5 minutes, the kids are 9 years old, and I'm talking to them and talking them through the session, and they barely get to experience the scenarios because I'm always stopping it, or they're waiting in line to experience something, then those are things you're going to want to examine and second guess. So a typical training session of mine, for example, for JPS, I'm going to use 2 programs right now as an example, because I think they're 2 totally opposite sides of the spectrum. And I already mentioned them, APFC and Insanes. Okay, 2 programs that I think are tremendous. I mean, I need to start with that. I think Albert and Bernat are phenomenal, and I have a lot of respect for what they're doing right now. They're bringing a level of awareness to the game in this place that doesn't really exist. So my hat's off to those guys. I love watching what they're doing. And then the opposite side of the spectrum is Alfredo at Insanes, who's so good and so fun to watch at what he does. And the kids love it. So it's fun. They're touching the ball, and it keeps them coming back. So, but again, these 2 programs are completely different. When I started JPS, I believe in both, by the way. I wanted something that was a hybrid. So a typical session for me at JPS basically revolves around playing. Okay, so we're not going and training for an hour strictly with the ball, or training for an hour in universal concepts or positional play or anything like that. A typical session lately, and it always changes because we try to change it up on the kids. When they get comfortable, we switch it on them. But lately it's been, they show up, they're playing right away. And we're going maybe low numbers, 2v2s, 3v3s, and they're facilitating things. That goes on for maybe 10, 15 minutes. And then we jump into the focus of the day. Now we're starting to train. Typically we jump into universal concepts. I know Bernat touched a little bit on what a universal concept is in the game. It's something that if I go to Brazil and I don't speak the language, nobody needs to say a word, but I know that if this guy opens here and this guy opens here, then I should give depth, right? So we're trying to learn how to speak through the game. So we do a lot of rondos, a lot of possession games, some positional games, but that will last 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then we're playing. The rest of the time we're playing, and it's uninterrupted by me. A lot of the stuff is coached in the flow if I'm coaching anything, but it's a place where we're trying to create an environment that's A, enjoyable, B, realistic, and C, educational. Okay, but on the flip side of all that, the kids train. Some of these kids are training 3 times a week. For them to come to JPS on their 4th day of the week and then have to get drilled with information, as a kid, I don't want that. I think it's important for them to have sprinkle a little bit of information in with the session, and then let them explore that in the game. Let them experience that in the game. And so we turn the music on when we play. We let them get after it. Now, that being said, and we talk about fun, we're not creating a picnic either. So it's not something where the kids just come and I shut up and we just let them goof off and have a good time. That's not what we're talking about. The program went in a route where it ended up catering to higher level players. So we don't get a lot of beginning players in the session, but we try to maintain this level of intensity through every session. So if there's somebody there who it's their first time there and they just seem like maybe it's way out of their league, we want them to be comfortable. So we'll create a group for them, something that suits them, where they can compete and not be stressed or not get injured. So we're looking to create those environments, and it's been phenomenal. We've had sessions that are through the roof with intensity, but also still trying to keep some of these concepts in mind while we play. So that's kind of what a typical session has looked like. There are the occasional strictly ball work. There are the occasional sessions that go with more training. Some of the stuff that I've done to collaborate with other guys, Sam at the 10 Academy, we do a lot of stuff where we get a nice 45 minutes of education in, and then we play, but we always end up with playing. So I think if I could say anything, the sessions revolve around games. I would also say that when we say, because you could walk away and say, no, it's a pickup game program, but when we talk about pickup games, I think we need to define that too, because Walter, I know you played pickup games, Ben.